Monaco 64 here, home of alternative economics and contrarian views. This is a Sunday special Q&A, very relaxed. You can ask me any question about markets, economics, even controversial subjects as well. I'll accept those as well. Conspiracies, talk about false flag operations. I usually don't talk about that in my videos, but why not? With Super Chat, it becomes a bit easier. The last chat I did, I got you guys contributed quite a bit, and I can touch upon controversial subjects. So we've got a few people coming up already here. 17, 6 thumbs up. Thank you very much. APT. Hi, APT. Sergio Senna. Evening, Mario. Evening, Sergio. Neboja Jarabika. Very good evening from Serbia. Oh, great. Nice to see you. Hugo Havara. Hello there. David Johnston. Hi again. Metallic Miner. Tommy Robinson arrest and the totalitarian government. Thoughts? Really good question, Tommy Robinson. I've heard about what's happened to him, and it is totalitarian. They're trying to quiet him down, and it reminds me of the comment by a German Lutheran minister in the 1930s, and he noted that first, the Nazis went for someone, that they didn't like. And everyone kept quiet. He kept quiet. Then they went for someone else. And eventually they went for him. So that's really scary. Yeah, the UK is supposed to be a country that has free speech, the rule of law, and you're innocent until proven guilty. Yeah, I think it's really bad. And the other thing they did, they've stopped the press covering this story. So yeah, it is concerning, and it makes you wonder. Yeah, we're not living in a free country, nor in Europe, nor here, nor in the US. Fascism is more like it. Let's see here. Hugo Jarava, have you heard of monoatomic gold? No, I haven't, Hugo. I'm sorry, I haven't heard of that. I'll look into it. Maybe you can tell me a little bit about it. The Sprinkler Ninja. Hi, Mario from USA. Hi, Sprinkler Ninja. Lorraine Weymouth. Hello from Dorset. Oh, hi, Lorraine. Dorset, nice part of the country. The weather here today is really nice in London. It is a bit humid, but we can't complain. It's sunny, a bit breezy. I played golf this morning, a competition. Played quite well. I think I came third, didn't win. I had the best score, gross score, but my handicap is fairly low. So the net score was the third best, so I'm happy with that. Silver Granny, hello, Mario. Hi, Silver Granny. Anthony Rivera, coming from Chicago. Hello, Mario. Hey, nice to hear from you in Chicago. The Cypress Tree One, good morning from Arizona. Wow, good morning from Arizona. Well, we got people from Serbia, from Dorset in England. We've got people from Arizona, from Chicago. That's great. Hugo Harava, he's answering the question for me here. I didn't know. Monoatomic gold is gold in powder form. It is said that ancient Egyptian pharaohs used to consume it for extrasensory powers and to be able to cast for days at a time, even weeks. Wow, I never heard of that. That's interesting. Leandro Paparelli, hello from Dallas. Hi, Leandro from Dallas, Texas. I think they're playing golf there this week, the PGA Tour, in Fort Worth, which I think is north of Dallas, if I'm not mistaken. They're playing at the Colonial Country Club, which is where Ben Hogan used to play. APT, Monaco 64, going GG Global. I meant cast, yeah. EOS Phoenix. Oh, are you a block producer, EOS Phoenix? Greetings from Arizona. Yeah, the other thing about EOS, I've noticed there's someone doing a lot of FUD for EOS. His name's Bix Weir. I think he's kind of, yeah, he's not making himself look very clever, in my opinion. Bix Weir. Let's see, Jacaré na Lagoa. Well, Jacaré na Lagoa, that means alligator in the lagoon, and that's Portuguese. Bom dia de São Francisco. Oh, San Francisco, is that in Bahia or San Francisco? Because I lived somewhere near Rio, and the neighborhood in my town was called San Francisco. I don't know where you are. Good morning, exciting first time live with you, Maneko. Yeah, as I said, as the title of the video, the live stream says, you guys can ask me any questions. I'm willing to answer controversial questions. Someone made a comment on one of my videos, only because it was 11 minutes and 34 seconds. He said it was 11 minutes and 33. And he said, oh, that's a sign that Maneko 64 is a Freemason because of the number 11 and 33. But I can assure you, I'm not a Freemason, never have been. I had a friend who asked me to join his lodge. I went for one dinner, and the guys were okay, but it wasn't for me. So I'm not a Freemason. And the guy asked a question about 9/11. You know, why don't you cover 9/11? Well, because I cover more economics, I cover more markets. But yeah, I think 9/11 was a false flag operation. Why do I say that? Because there's a lot of inconsistencies in the official report. I don't know if any of you guys have watched it before. America from Freedom to Fascism is a film made by Aaron Russo. Aaron Russo was the director of Trading Places, a really big hit movie in the 1980s. And in this film, he talks about how he became friends with a guy called Lawrence Rockefeller from the Rockefeller family. And Lawrence Rockefeller even invited him to join the Council on Foreign Relations, and he said no. And the year before 9/11, Lawrence Rockefeller told Aaron Russo that something big was going to happen, and it was going to change, everything. Is that proof that it was a false flag? No, but I've watched all the documentaries, Loose Change, all the architects. So yeah, I do believe it was an inside job and a false flag, and it's the reason why I don't trust too much what government tells me anymore. Let's see. TPRO 1155, free Tommy Robinson. Yeah, I've talked about that. They're trying to snuff him. They're trying to keep him quiet. They don't want him to come out. And the excuse they use is that he's a right-wing racist, and he's not, in my opinion. Dan Reynolds, do you see physical silver and gold play an important part of the reset? Will grams be realized as a common measure due to much higher prices? Of course, grams will be a measure. Yeah, I mean, it's already with gold. With silver, it'll probably take higher prices. Yeah, but gram is a good measure. And the rule of thumb for grams is that you need 31.1035 ounces. 31.1035 grams to make 1 troy ounce. So that's the key word there. Key measurement is 31.1035 grams is 1 troy ounce. So you can work out, because usually gold and silver are quoted in ounces, so it helps you calculate it. Roma Lawal, hello, Mario. What types of silver coins should the British people continue to buy to hedge their portfolios against the imminent economic depression? Please, mate. You should buy any silver coins you can get a hold of. The ones that you're not going to pay VAT are the old pre-1919 British coins, which are sterling silver 925. So I recommend those if you can get a hold of them. They're like junk sterling coins pre 1919. Before World War One, all the silver coins were 925. So yeah, and you don't pay VAT if you can get a lot of those. But any other silver coins, I recommend. It doesn't matter which ones. Silver is silver. Of course, if you're in the UK, you might want to favor the Britannias. But I also like half dollars, silver quarters, 1964. Leandro Paparelli, how long more for the reset? I don't know. I'm sorry, but I can't tell you that, but it will happen. Josh 1, Monaco 64, what do you think about the Freemasons? Well, I think, here in the UK, there are a lot of people I know who are like Freemasons, and I think they're just normal people. But the higher up you go, I think, like in any institution, it's probably been infiltrated. But I think, if the run-of-the-mill Freemason, I think they're quite harmless, and a lot of times they just do charity work. But I think it's a cover as well. And one thing that is not good, I think, is like the police here in the UK and other countries. There's a lot of Freemasons, and they do, from what I heard, make vows to each other. So who are they going to protect? Yeah. So yeah, it's a secretive institution. So not too keen on them, to tell you the truth. But it doesn't mean to say that some people that are Freemasons are bad. So I try to keep an open mind. Leandro Paparelli, why you're not into Ripple? I assume it's Ripple. No, I've never really looked into Ripple. What I heard about Ripple is like Robin Stratton is saying, it's more of a bankster coin. So I wouldn't be interested. Jacaranda Lagoa, hi Mario, can Brexit be reversed? It is already being watered down. So even one of the hardline Brexiteers, Jacob Rees-Mogg, I heard him talking today on a radio program, and he said that technically they could extend the UK's status with the EU for 10 years while they exit. So yeah, it could be reversed. Anthony Rivera, do you really think the BIS could regulate crypto? No, I don't think the Bank for International Settlements can regulate cryptocurrencies. That's why I don't like it, Anthony. Synergy Nation, secrecy is not a virtue. Evil loves secrecy. I agree. That's why I'm not really keen on the Freemasons. Even JFK said that there's no place for secret societies in a free and open society, didn't he? That famous comment. Danny Djokovic, 10,000 jobs lost from the Deutsche Bank. Yeah, big German bank. Some say 20,000 jobs. How serious is the situation with Deutsche Bank? It's not Deutschland's bank. It's Deutsche Bank. No, yeah, they're in trouble, but I just don't think anything will happen. Or you never know. They could pull the plug. But the interesting thing is that Deutsche Bank is the biggest lender to the Trump organization. So they could be using that to blackmail Donald Trump. Who knows? I think they've lent over 300 million to the Trump organization. So if that comes down, Deutsche Bank comes down, you could see the Trump organization come down as well. I don't know. It won't look good. Comic Commando, Mario, do you see the police state increasing in the West, like the current crackdown on alternative journalists like Tommy Robinson for reporting on news events? Definitely, I do. And even Google and YouTube and Twitter and Facebook, they're censoring me. A lot of my videos now, they get the not suitable for most advertisers, and then they clear it because I asked for a review, and after a few days they clear it. I bet if I wasn't the home of alternative economics and contrarian views, if I didn't cover controversial subjects like central banking, I probably wouldn't get censored. That's why the super chat is great. The other day I did a live stream, and I actually earned quite a bit from all your donations on super chat, and I'd like to thank all the people who did donate. This is one way to get around that. And I know that YouTube, though, takes 30% of your donation. So if you give me $1, they'll take 30 cents, but at least I will earn something from it. Let's see. James Scott. Aaron Scott says that mainstream media are about to push the herd towards gold. What's your thoughts on this? Who's that? I don't know who Aaron Scott is, but yeah, I mean, the powers that be, they'll do everything that they might, because if the crowd, if the herd goes into gold, I'm sure the elites already has their gold, so they can sell it to them at a much higher price. So it's not out of the realms of possibility. Shirin Chowdhury, what is crypto worth if it is illegal to create a format bank to convert into fiat? Well, there are ways to convert crypto into fiat at the moment. And there are a lot of people who accept crypto as payments. So, yeah, at the moment, I don't think there's a problem. Of course, it could be a problem. It could be the same thing for any other currency, or even for, they could crack down. Hugo Javara, Hitler was against the Freemasons and the New World Order. Yeah, that's a controversial subject, Hitler. Yeah, he was against. I also saw a video and there's a French guy called Pierre Yovanovitch. He's written a book of how Hitler was against the printing press or fiat money. So yeah, we would probably be called anti-Semitic for even talking about that, but it's a fact. Does it justify what happened in Germany? No, I don't think so, but it is a fact, though. I mean, Germany was brought to its knees after World War One. And then in 1923 you had the hyperinflation, and then in the early 30s there was a lot of big banks collapsed. So a lot of people died from the destruction of the currency. Yeah, so that's the German question there. Q Translated Limited. How many percent of one's assets should one have in physical gold and silver, in your opinion? That's up to the individual, but I would say at least 10%. And after that, it's up to you how much you want to keep in gold and silver. It's a bit like saving money. Sorry, a bit hot here in the UK, so I'm going to use my handkerchief. How do we get $20 silver this year? Do we get $20 silver this year in the US? It's possible. I mean, silver has had a really narrow range in the last couple of years. I think the key resistance is around 21. It's very possible that we get $20 silver, yeah. Can you do a review on XRN? Don't know what XRN is. Sorry, the moderator. Lee, it's a secret. Thoughts on platinum, precious metals? Do you think it's undervalued and a sleeper? Yeah, I don't really follow platinum too much, but it should do well as well. If all precious metals do well, I prefer just gold and silver. But yeah, it is undervalued relative to gold, I guess, a bit. BC Joey, hi Mario. The banking cabal manipulating any store of value down, down except art and maybe diamonds. Precious metals and Bitcoin are being discredited with their printed fiat. Uh, Quesrion coming. What I'm not sure what that means. Yeah, yeah, diamonds. I think I don't know if any of you heard of. There is like a theory that diamonds are very plentiful and they're controlled by the De Beers. There are places in Southwest Africa and Namibia apparently that you can find beaches full of diamonds. So yeah, diamonds are kept artificially high in price, I think. Shane Virtue, Eric Sprott is Canadian gold, but yeah, I know Eric Sprott. I followed Sprott for a while. Let's see. GG, I read a quote about how Nazism is banned in Germany because they are ashamed of their history, whereas the KKK in America isn't because they are proud of their history. Well, yeah, I mean, it's ironic that they banned. I'm not saying Nazism was right, but the Nazis would have banned Nazism. So for Germany now to ban it, it's like acting like the Nazis. First we have deflation, then hyperinflation. RR. GG, people have been saying the gold to silver ratio might be 1-to-1 when people rush to silver because gold is already expensive for a lot of people. Yeah, I don't know if historically it's ever gone to 1-to-1, but that would be a huge move. Yeah, I wouldn't mind that. What do you think about Walter Vaith? Never heard of Walter Vaith. Sorry, YWYDY. Danny Djokovic, why has the price of rhodium jumps in value so much? Everybody is talking about it. I remember years ago, rhodium also went through the roof and then came back down. To be honest, I haven't been following rhodium. A very small market probably, so it's easy to move the market around. Uncle Deadly, evening all evening, Uncle Deadly. Leandro Paparelli, how to move gold bars from one country to the other? Well, yeah, I mean, if it's a 12 kilo bar, the 400-ounce bar is very difficult. You can ship it through Brinks. They ship gold. You just have to make sure you check what the customs situation is for shipping gold. That's the way to do it. But from country to country. That's probably why it's better to hold coins. It's probably easier to take coins with you. Sharon Chowdhury, could it be that the US government will nationalize the gold mining stocks after a fiat collapse? They did it with bullion in 1933. Well, that's true. They did. Maybe even the Canadian government might do it because I think the Canadian central bank or the government, they've only got like 30 ounces of gold. They've got no gold, but Canada has a lot of gold underground, mining gold. Canada could do it too. Helen, hi Mario, in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The recent saga with Najib downfall will trigger more problems for Singapore. What is your reading of things here? Um, is you talking about like Dr. Mahathir? I forgot. He's back in power, isn't he? I'm not. To be honest, I haven't followed too much what's going on over there, but I think when you had the Asian crisis in '98, Dr. Mahathir, I think, I forgot his exact name, he did a good job. He actually didn't follow the IMF, cure, and Malaysia did quite well, I think. But that's all I know about it right now. I haven't followed that closely. Golden seeds effects. Is there a huge distinction between two different types of silver? Uh, what do you mean? I mean, the purity of silver, I guess. Uh, you could have 999 silver so that it would be softer and you'd have to be careful with it. It would wear out easier. You have to keep it safe. Or you have 90% silver, which has some alloys on it to make it more sturdy. But apart from that, silver is silver is the same everywhere in the world. It doesn't matter if it's a US coin, Australian, British, or whatever. Shane Virtue, I'm an anti-federalist. Yeah, I mean, I think it was a big mistake to create the District of Columbia in Washington, D.C. I think the original colonies should have stayed as states, a loose federation, and we probably wouldn't have all the problems now of the big government in the U.S. So yeah, I would say I'm an anti-federalist as well. Leandro Paparelli, do you believe Bo Pony forecast? Well, Bo Pony has called some good tops and good bottoms in different markets, but I don't understand why he sticks to making predictions about time and price. It's very hard, but I think he's got his heart in the right place, Bo Pony. He hasn't made too many videos recently. I always check to see if he has, so I do listen to him. I'd just like to tell people as well that this is a super chat. So if you would like to contribute to the channel, you can donate straight on the super chat. It helps because a lot of my videos are being censored by YouTube. So if you think I'm helping and creating value, that would be great. Queens Q Translated Limited. Are you retired or do you still do trading for a living? I mean, as your job? I mean, I was a futures and options broker, which requires trading, but I did it for clients. I used to advise clients on the bond markets, and I used to execute trades for them. I used to propose strategies, options. Yeah, I'm not retired, but I don't have a full-time job in the city anymore, and I do investments. Sometimes I do trade, and I'm trying to build up the business here on YouTube as well. I've tried different things after I left the city. I ran a pawnbroking shop. I bought it into a franchise for 2 years, and it went well, but not well enough. So I just closed the business down. And my plan is just to keep doing what I do because I like doing these YouTube videos. I like to talk about what I know. And I think there's a lot of people out there who want to know, get some knowledge of what I have. Dr. Kathleen Rudy, just going now. Has anyone asked you about Brazil? Crisis around doubling of the price of fuel in the last 2 years, now crippling the country. Yeah, I read it recently. There's a lot of strikes, the truck drivers, and government has declared an emergency to try to break the strikes. One thing I would say about Brazil, yeah, it's a crisis, and in other countries, if that happened in the US and UK, it would be quite, how can I say, disruptive. And it is disruptive in Brazil, but Brazilians are used to so much has happened that this is like they'll get through it. So it's not a problem. But if it happened here in the UK or in the US, it'd be a problem. And the other thing as well, yeah, oil prices have gone up and the currency has gone down as well. So that hasn't helped. Oil prices gone up in dollars and the currency has gone down. Golden Oil, thank you. Thank you for the donation, Golden Oil. No one is buying bonds. This is a huge scam. Well, by buying bonds, you finance the Federal Reserve, you finance the government. So that's why I don't do it. Try to keep as little money as possible, because keeping money in the bank now is not your money. You're unsecured lender to the bank, in the UK at least. So why would you want to do that? Thank you, Jacare Nalagoa, for the donation. Keep up the great work. Always the first video I watch in the morning. Brazil will bounce back. Yeah, I agree with you. And Brazil has been through a lot worse. But what I'm trying to say is, well, if it happened in the US or here, people have been especially in the US, they've been so kind of spoiled for so long. And I'm not trying to disparage Americans, but they've had it really good for many years. So they wouldn't, but in Brazil, it's just like a bump on the road. BC Joey, ECB, BOJ, and Royal Canadian RCB are buying bonds. Yeah, I think the ECB bought bonds late on Friday, and they bought Spanish and Italian bonds because those bonds were collapsing. Well, the yields are spiking quite a bit for Spain and Italy on Friday, and then at the close they just dropped. It was really bizarre. That could be the next crisis that comes up now. Europe. We need to watch European government bonds. We had the crisis from 2010 through 2012. And the only way it stopped, and let's say Spain or Italy or Greece didn't go broke, is that the ECB president Mario Draghi came out and said in July 2012, I think he said, we're going to do whatever it takes. So that meant, and then they started doing QE and buying billions, hundreds and hundreds of billions of these bonds with money created out of thin air. So not all is well with Europe, but it's the same thing in the UK. After Brexit, the Brexit vote in June 2016, the Bank of England just said, oh, we're going to buy 250 billion pounds out of thin air. So, and the US has done it as well. I know they're going towards QT, but you can bet they're still pumping the money in the US as well. Our dollar will get stronger because euro is in trouble. Yeah, I've said many times that all these fiat currencies, they take turn. When one goes up, the other has to go down, and vice versa. Longer term, you should still, stick to precious metals. That's my opinion. You could trade fiat currencies, go short the dollar. Like a few weeks ago, I said that the pound breaking 137 was going to take us to 131, and that's worked out well. Gold and oil markets are completely rigged. Prices are fake. That's true because the central banks are doing something they shouldn't. They're intervening in the market, in the securities market. Normally, they should be just there to kind of help the credit market along and regulate interest rates, which I still don't believe they should. But now they crossed the Rubicon, gold and oil, with QE. Look at the Swiss National Bank. They own loads of Amazon stock. Look at the Japanese central bank. They've been buying ETFs. Even the Fed, indirectly, by keeping rates really low and doing QE. Yeah, it's all manipulated. Stocks, bonds, and golds are all fake and priced by the CIA. Well, I think the Federal Reserve is the CIA's financing arm, so you could be right. And also, don't forget the Exchange Stabilization Fund, which was created with the money that was stolen from Americans in 1933. And why do I say that? Well, Roosevelt confiscated all the gold from Americans in 33. Well, tried to confiscate all the gold, and then he revalued it from $20 to $35, and that profit that they made on the gold, they used that to start the Exchange Stabilization Fund, which must be huge now, probably the biggest hedge fund in the world, but very secretive, controlled by the Secretary of the Treasury and the President of the United States. And I would argue that Exchange Stabilization Fund has an account with J.P. Morgan in London. And why do I say that? I don't have proof, but I remember years ago in the Bush II administration, he had a Secretary of the Treasury called John Snow, and he visited London. And I remember there was a picture of him in the newspaper visiting the dealing room of J.P. Morgan London. And I thought, why would the U.S. Treasury Secretary go visit J.P. Morgan in London? And I thought, wow, it's because they're running his fund, Exchange Stabilization Fund. So Hugo Javaro, when in the cycle would you sell your mining shares? Well, mining shares, I mean, sometimes they keep going up even after gold tops. So you gotta be careful. You gotta set yourself targets as well, how much you want to make from it. But like in the early 80s, gold topped in 1980 in silver, but I think mining shares kept going up until 1990, 1983. Danny Djokovic, in my opinion, Europe will go to war with other Euro nations over all the debt it will probably start in the Balkans, again, because of old feuds and lack of work. Nathan Jones, yo, Mario. Hey, Nathan, how are you doing? Yeah, I don't know about the Europe and war, Danny. I think, yeah, the problem with Europe, is the socialism. I mean, Europeans, they're good people, I think. I've been all over Europe, and most people just want to be left alone. But at the same time, a lot of them have been brainwashed into thinking that government owes them a living, that you need a welfare state, that you need uh, well, not so much warfare state, but yeah, it's very socialistic. But systems that are unsustainable usually come to an end. They come to an end by themselves. Mario, do you think SDR will be the next global currency? No, I don't think so. SDR is just a basket of fiat currencies: dollar, pound, yen, and they might try to trick people and deceive people into thinking that it is a good currency. But yeah, it's just it could be a step for liquidity. IMF, World Bank could create liquidity by issuing SDR, but it would just be more and more fiat. I don't think it's the solution, because if there is a collapse of the fiat money system, people won't buy into the SDR. That's my opinion. Jefferson Humber, for someone in the UK, are gold sovereigns the best cost-effective bet for physical ownership? Yeah, best bet. And it doesn't, it's legally, it's legal tender. So there's no capital gains or anything for sovereigns. And you can buy half sovereigns as well, half the price. Bob Safe, US dollar will stay #1 currency as long as something big happens, war. Will that ever happen? I don't know what to think. Yeah, I mean, Bob, lately, the last few years, there's all the talk about war, this is gonna, and it never comes. I hope there isn't a World War III. Comic Commando, strange they want to be left alone, but voice the socialist state to take away assets from others. Hugo Jaraba, did you know colloidal silver and monoatomic gold cure? Sorry, I'm really hot here. I sweat on my nose. I've sweat on my nose since I was a little kid. Colloidal silver, yeah, I've used colloidal silver before. I don't have any now. Kathy Kirk, are you aware of Nazara or Jazera? I am aware of Nazara. Yeah, is the plan yeah, I am aware of the Nazara. Some people think it's not true, but yeah, it would change everything. I used to read a website called 4winds10.com. So yeah, maybe we'll see. Everyone should have some colloidal silver and monoatomic gold at home. Yeah, I actually think I had some of that monoatomic gold as well. Yeah, colloidal silver is good. I haven't really used any lately. Mario, they're saying SERs will be backed by gold holdings of 5 countries. Well, then I would, you know, think again. I guess that would be different. That would be because the IMF right now, they've taken gold out of the IMF doesn't allow countries to uh, deposit gold with them. So if they're going to do that, then it's a different story. Uh, it's like going on a gold standard. We'll have to see. Not probably not a true gold standard. We won't, the peasants like us won't be able to demand delivery, redemption in gold, but it will be just between sovereign nations. So we couldn't really trust them. Patrick, thank you for the donation on Super Chat. I appreciate it. GG, if the UK government tightens up the London housing market and doesn't allow dirty money in, then how prices are going to collapse. You're right. You're right. But the other way, yeah, I agree. And they have been tightening the housing market for non-domiciled, which is like the high end in London. GG, I've been to London a few times and half the homes are empty. Probably some of the homes in central London, which are owned by very rich, wealthy foreigners or non domiciles. Some of them are empty, but I think in the outskirts, there's a lot of people looking for property, and there's a lot of people renting now as well. Hugo Javara, what do you think would happen to Panama since they use dollars when the dollar collapses? Well, the same thing that would happen in the US. You know, you'd be without a currency. That's why you need, I don't know if you're in Panama, but yeah, that's why if you're in Panama as well, you need to hold gold and silver. Or they might, yeah. Kathy Kirk, what effect would HR 5404 have if it passes in Congress and Senate? Well, it would be great. It would be competition for the Federal Reserve. Um, that's the one to introduce to describe the dollar as a weight in gold. It would be great. It's a long way from happening, though. It still has to be voted on in the House, and then it'd have to go be voted on in the Senate, and it would have to be signed into law by the president. It would be great. Um, we can always hope. Our cost of living is too high for the majority of the people. I agree. They've lied to us about inflation. How well the economy is doing. The only people who have really benefited a lot are the people in the financial sector, politicians, pharmaceuticals, arms industries. They benefited a lot, but I think in the UK and in the US, the reason why the GDP numbers are positive is because we've had huge budget deficits. And because the GDP, I've made videos before, GDP adds government spending. So if the government is spending more than it takes in, which is a budget deficit, by let's say 3%, if you take that 3% away, a budget deficit, and the GDP is 1%, that means the economy is actually shrinking by 2%. And I don't consider government spending real wealth and economic activity, because governments don't create any wealth. It's the private sector that does. RJM, hi Mario, happy to see you go live, long time follower. Would you please comment on the future of EOS? I think EOS has potentially a bright future, and that's why I put some money into it. But nothing in life is certain. But yeah, the reason why I put some money into EOS is because it's like bid shares and steam it is the evolution of that, and I think it could be really good. Some people consider it will be the real estate for the internet on the blockchain. A lot of people think the internet is going to go in the blockchain, and that EOS could be a very important part of that. CenterServe International, hi CenterServe. What do you think will happen to Mexico? Now Chevron took over Pemex as a monopoly in Mexico. Yeah, you know that. Yeah, I mean is it Chevron? Yeah, that, well, it's going the way of the globalists. It look like if the national oil company of Mexico has been taken over, and I think the same thing might happen in Brazil with Petrobras. You know, and that's why they're having a crisis there now. You could see Petrobras be privatized and foreign companies come in. Um, yeah, I think they only have themselves to blame, the Mexicans and the Brazilians. You know, they've got so much wealth and resources, but they're depend. You know, they still depend on the U.S. dollar and fiat money. There are some people in Mexico, like Hugo Salinas Price, who try to get Mexico to use silver as money, but it's always really hard. Hugo Javara, uh, would you go to Burlington or Ross? Oh. Evander Farson, hey Mario, have you ever looked into anarchy capitalism or narco-capitalism? Yeah, I have. And I believe in it. I believe in very small government or no government. Like Jeff Berwick said, the best government would be to have 7 billion individual sovereign people in the world. Yeah, I think it's a good idea, but it's hard to convince people. Evander Farson, him, yeah, and Susan Chappell. I think you're right. I'm just outside born. Seth Shepard, Coinbase is locking me out of my account for the 24 hours. Richard McCorkindale, as in the gold confiscation, they just outlawed sale and offered voluntary surrender of the metals. They didn't go door to door. Mark Needham, be careful of EOS. The masses are starting to call it the pedo coin. Uh, yeah, I've seen Bix Weir talk a lot about that. But yeah, so but Bix Weir, then he shouldn't use US dollars as well, you know. But I think there was a guy involved in Block One, Brock Pierce. I think he was involved with some child abusers a few years ago, and he went to trial and he was cleared of the charges. He paid a fine, but he's not involved with Block One anymore. I think I don't know. There's a lot of FUD out there. Havoc. Let's see. Havoc Horst. When do you think the Petro-yuan will have 50% of the oil market? It's not going to take that long. You know, I think it's only been around. Well, yesterday was the second anniversary. I think it's going to be in the within. I would say the first 18 months, since it's, you know, it could be only a year. I think it's going to be big. The Petro-yuan. I do check the volumes regularly, and it's growing. CenterServe, they were against monopoly, but they are creating global monopoly. Yeah, that's right. RJM, thank you for the donation. M. Martinez, I subscribe. Thank you. Yeah, if you haven't subscribed to my channel yet, please do. And be aware that YouTube is, what they're doing is, even though you're subscribed to some channels, they're not letting you know that that channel is posting new videos. So if you want to watch my videos, make sure you check every day because I make a video every day. Susan Chappell, any thoughts on Apex? If you Google Apex, not Google, if you go onto my YouTube channel, I did a video about Apex months ago. I think it's a Chinese company. So I haven't really followed through on that. Golden oil, the Satanist Elon Musk is digging hundreds, digging tunnels for some reason. Why? Oh, I don't know. I mean, Tesla, I don't think it's a credible company. It's financed by the government. I mean, they've gotten so much money from the government. Sedona TV, is Italy the canary in the coal mine for a global financial crisis? It could be, but yeah, it could be because, it, in 2012, the whole of the pigs, Portugal, Italy, Ireland, Greece, and Spain, they were collapsing, and the ECB basically bailed them out. So if it starts going down again, yeah, it could be. Then done QE4 by the end of this year. Maybe. Actually, I think one of the reasons why I think the Fed is raising rates is because they see a recession coming. So they want to raise as much as possible, and then they're going to start cutting again. They might do QE4, but before they do QE4, they start cutting interest rates again. Susan Chapel, I've just subscribed. Thank you, Susan. Let's see, Kathy Kirk. What do you do here? Who you are is so valuable, Mario. Thank you so very much from We the People. You're welcome, Kathy. And I enjoy doing it too. See, Marek Sushanek. Hi, Mario. What do you think about China plans to launch yuan-backed metals futures in London? Yeah, it's the LME exchange, which is owned by the Hong Kong Futures Exchange. Yeah, that's another nail in the coffin of the petrodollar. That just goes to show that these countries are concerned about the dollar and that they want to have, and it's not even like the Chinese want to usurp the dollar, is that they see that the dollar has problems and they want to have an alternative. I think one of the reasons the Fed bailed out all the Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac in 2008 is because the Chinese held hundreds of billions of those bonds. So I think that's what pushed the Chinese to go into this. I don't think it's because they want to dominate the world and be the world powers. They want like some kind of alternative to the dollar because they see trouble ahead. And even Jim Rogers, I saw the other day, he said that with the amount of debt the US has, the dollar has limited time as a reserve currency. So this is just preparation for that. You might end up getting exchanges in Europe with stuff priced in euros. You might get maybe exchanges in Brazil with commodities priced in their own currency. So it's not just China, in my opinion. Sedona TV. Thank you, Sedona, for the contribution. And I'm glad you look forward to my videos, And when I first started doing my videos, November 2015, it was very slow, but I kept at it, and I really enjoy it. GRE68. Jim said the dollar would rise. He is big in dollars. Jim Rogers, I assume. Yeah, but I also saw recently that he doesn't think with all the debt that's been created, the latest tax plan, Trump tax plan, he thinks it's very difficult for the dollar to remain as a reserve currency. It doesn't mean that the dollar can't rise against other fiat currencies. The pound isn't a reserve currency for hasn't been for 75 years or so, but sometimes it does rise against the dollar or other currencies. Um, Patrick, hi Mario. What's your view on the true position of China's true gold reserve position? I think China has a lot more gold. That the People's Bank of China, I think they have like 1,700 tons, something like that. But and that could be right, but I think there are other Chinese entities that have more gold, and I think the Chinese public has a lot of gold as well. Susan Chappell, I listen to your new updates every morning before work. Really appreciate what you're doing. Thank you for the feedback and thank you for the compliment. And at least, yeah, the feedback helps, so it keeps me, aware. If I'm doing the right thing, if I'm, doing what my viewers want. Nunia Business. I spoke with my friend Edmund Moy the other day, and Texas has started a cryptocurrency backed by gold and silver and is redeemable in exchange for it as well. You mean the state of Texas? That would be interesting. Uh, I mean, there's a story about the late 70s that John Connolly, who was the ex-governor of Texas, I think, and also was Secretary of the Treasury under Nixon, that he was involved with the Hunt brothers, who were from Texas, and the Shah of Iran. They wanted to declare independence, Texas, and that's why the Hunt brothers were buying so much physical silver, because Texas wanted to declare independence and adopt silver as their currency. So, yeah, Texas has an interesting. I think Texas is the only state in the Union of the U.S. that was created by a treaty, and apparently that treaty has to be signed every year. So, yeah, interesting. The Republic of Texas. Seth Shepard, do you think Italy is going to crash soon? Uh, well, their bonds are starting to go down. Um, it could, you know, um, it could. We need to keep an eye on it. I'm sure the central bankers are going to try their hardest to keep things afloat. Because if Italy goes, so does Germany, so does France, so does all the other European countries. Because the thing that you have to understand, who's lent all the money to Italy? Who's lent all the money to France? It's like Germany, the UK, they all lend money to each other. So if one goes, they all go. Uh, Hugo Jarava, do you think states will become their own countries when the dollar collapses? Well, you mean if the states of the union are going to secede? That's possible. But we know we know what happened last time that happened. It wasn't very pretty, but it's possible. Look at the Soviet Union. When the Soviet Union collapsed, all the socialist republics all separated. They're all different countries now. Same thing could happen in the U.S. Central Serve International. Do you know any country that are actually using silver or gold as their currencies? No, there isn't any. They're not. And if they did, they'd be. There are countries that tried, like Libya. You know what happened to them. Unfortunately, no, there are no countries using silver and gold as their currency. Susan Chappell, what are your thoughts about buying gold and silver online? The powers that be can track what we have. Uh, well, it's not much different. I mean, even if you go to the coin dealer or your gold dealer, a lot of times, he'll give you a receipt and he'll keep a copy of it. So I don't think it makes much difference. Patrick, Italy has huge gold reserves, second only to Germany in Europe, I believe. Yeah, I think they've got about 2,500 tons, the Italians, of gold reserves. Do you think that central banks can keep buying bonds? Oh yeah, of course. They've got unlimited amounts of, they can create as much money as they want. But what that would mean that more debt for the people, unless they just buy it like in Weimar Germany without, and then it would hyperinflate. At the moment, they're printing it on the back of new debt, which we have to pay taxes on, and that's why we haven't had hyperinflation. But if they just print it willy nilly, it could be quite, you know, backfire. Ben Jackanoff, what is the what is this crusty old man on the internet? He should be pooping his pants in the nursing home. Uh, well, who are you, Ben Jackanoff? So you don't have to. You can get off the chat then. Uh, let's see. Let's get him off. Remove. You're off, Ben Jackanoff. Censorship International. Mexico removed the silver in their coins only about 10 years ago. That's interesting. And I think that a lot of the European countries removed it in the late 60s. Let's see. Hi, Seth Shepard. I did ban that guy. I removed him. I have to say that's the first person I get like that. Usually, you guys, been great. Richard McCorkindale, I heard Texas pulled its gold out of New York while ago and holds its own state reserves. Yeah, I heard that too. I think they used to keep it with the New York Federal Reserve Bank. MA77XX, what do you think about Veritasium? I don't know much about Veritasium. I know about I forgot his name, the guy who started it. I really like him. He used to be on the Kaiser Report a lot. Middleton, isn't it? Yeah. Reggie Middleton. I think he's a clever guy, but I haven't really looked into Veritasium. I never got involved in it. I see that it went up to like $500 and it's now around 85. But I don't have any Veritasium coins. I know Bix Weir likes Veritasium. Golden Oil, Texas Bullion Depository completed in 2018. Yeah, I heard of that, and I think there was like a big hedge fund manager from Texas. Forgot his name. He advised the state of Texas on that. Reggie Middleton. Yeah. Why do you think Tesla is a fake company? Well, because I'm not saying it's fake, but from what I've heard, they've been heavily subsidized by the government. Any company that needs to be subsidized by the government, uh, in my opinion, is not a company that deserves to be in business. If you can't run without help from the government, you're not supposed to be running at all. Uh, Susan Chapel, I think Texas is getting ready. They have their own electricity grid separate from the east and west coast of the US. Interesting. Yeah, you never know. Brian Smith, great information, Maneko. Thank you. You're welcome. Jefferson Humber, do you have any personal rules of thumb? How much percentage of wealth invest in precious metals? Some say 10%. Have heard higher though. Appreciate your thoughts. Yeah, someone asked the same question earlier. on this live stream, and I said at least 10%, and the rest is up to you. If you do, do your homework, read as much as you can about money, about gold, the monetary system, history, and if it convinces you that you should have more than 50%, do it. It's all personal. It's like asking the question, how much money should I save? It's up to you. It's how confident you feel about your financial future. If you're not that confident, then start saving a bit more for a rainy day, I guess. So I'm going to wind down here. I'm going to take a couple more questions. Yeah, I've been here for an hour and 5 minutes. So I'm going to wind down. Let's see, get someone who hasn't asked a question. Earl, what is your take on gold royalties companies? Yeah, I think, yeah, they're like kind of, how can I say, it's like having a dividend, and they're probably not as, you probably won't make as much money if you buy like a exploration company that's still looking for the gold. I guess the gold royalty companies will do well if the gold price starts going up. But it's a safe bet, I think, because it means they're going to get the royalties. But they don't have, I don't think they have, how can I say, ownership of the gold. They're just like get a royalty. Center Serve, I agree with you about Tesla. Government create a monopoly. I'm building a home in Canada, and I'm obliged by law to install a socket for electric car. That's how Tesla are backed by government. Yeah, it's ridiculous that the government should tell you to, how to build your house. I agree with you, Center Serve International. It's like here in the UK, they've, British Gas, they keep calling me and saying, oh, we can install a smart meter for you for free. The government is, financing it. And just the fact that the government wants to have a smart meter for free has put me off it. So, yeah. Yeah, gas is not even profitable. Let's see. Just one more question here before I go. Just reading some comments. So who's going to ask the last question? I'm going to. Golden oil. Where? Oh, the last question is, where's Billy? Well, my wife went to watch some TV in the other room, and Billy went with her. I believe in the free will. I'm not going to force him to stay here. He wanted to go with her, so I let him go. So yeah, everybody, thank you very much again for participating in the live stream. I really enjoyed it, and I wish you a good rest of the weekend. I think in the US you have Memorial Day tomorrow, and here as well in the UK it's a bank holiday tomorrow. Thank you very much, everyone, and I'll probably talk to you tomorrow through a video. Take care. Bye.